Four movie, and boy, it sucked. It's pretty bad, and I can't imagine a movie I saw this year or last that was
The
worse than
Fantastic Four reboot is the kind of movie that I frankly cannot finish, and this probably hasn't happened in a long time that I haven't actually been able to finish a movie. But there you go, Fantastic Four reboot. You made me not be able to finish a movie.
Hey guys, it's the Chief Asch here to talk about the past summer blockbuster Fant4stic, which is the newest attempt at a ham-fisted reboot at a Fantastic Four movie, one of Marvel's most beloved families. I myself, regardless of the shirt, am a huge Marvel nerd. I love every bit of it, and when bastardizations come out like this, it really gets on my nerves. They want to take something that we've been constant from the 60s with and just change up the story because they feel like they want to take this new direction with it, which is great if you're not advertising the movie as something that you're trying to use to celebrate the comics. You want to pay homage to the comics. So with that sort of backing to it, you should not change character development. And what I mean by that is, for example, Johnny and Sue in the Marvel Comics are brother and sister. They've always been a thing. It's Johnny and Susan Storm, all the way from the 60s all the way up until now in the comics. All of a sudden, this movie wants to make it to where Susan is adopted into Johnny's family and they resent each other in some form or fashion. And there's really no connection made in the entirety of the movie between the two, which really bothers me for someone that reads these, the Fantastic Four comics or Avengers featuring Fantastic Four, and you always have that chemistry between Johnny and Sue when they do speak. And then also we have this continuity error with Doctor Doom's powers. In the early 2000s version, he's specifically, I have this metal suit and I shoot electricity, and in this one it's like, oh, I fuse with this environmental suit and I have godlike telekinesis. Whereas in the comics, his mother's a witch, so he has like this low-grade sorcery, and when he wears his armor, he has technopathy, which means he can control machines, which obviously isn't illustrated in any of the movies that's past. But in this one, they portray him as essentially a godlike figure that can pretty much do anything his mind wills it. He walks through hallways blowing people's heads up just because he can, and then when he fights the Fantastic Four, he can't do any of that. He has to literally fight them with his fists, even though he was splattering people out of existence not even 10 minutes before that. Which, in my book, is a bad thing, right? Another big thing about this movie that just absolutely got at me terribly is the horrible, terrible, nasty-ass dialogue, right? So, throughout the movie, you have these, I'm going to use this expression a lot, this ham-fisted attempts at character development, all this, but it all stems from the shitty dialogue, right? For huge example, period. Those of us Marvel fans, back to the comic book, Reed Richards is one of the most intelligent human beings in the Marvel Universe, period. There is very few people that rival him. One of the only ones is Victor Von Doom, both which happen to be in this movie. Who would have thunk? Anyway, so one of their very first interactions is Victor Von Doom criticizing some plan of Reed Richards, and he's like, oh, this looks like a little kid's drawing, and blah, 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 blah. And essentially what happens is Reed Richards makes a teleporter in his garage with the help of Ben Grimm, and when Susan Storm finds it, she criticizes it, and the first thing she says is, you could have destroyed the whole world and opened up a black hole and killed us all. You're so stupid. She doesn't say you're so stupid, but that's how she says it. She's a bitch. And Victor Von Doom says exactly the same thing. And all that we get from the dialogue, if all three of those people are in the room at the same time, after that point, it's, I'm smarter than you. No, I'm smarter than you. No, I'm smarter than you. And they brought, though Susan Storm is an intelligent human being in the Marvel Comics, she's not a rival of the three. But this movie made it out to be, like, there's this odd love triangle, which there is a love triangle between the three, but it's a love triangle of which bitch is smarter than the other one. And every time they speak to each other, they bitch the other one out about why I'm smarter than that. Even one piece of wonderful dialogue was when Victor Von Doom offers everybody, all the Fantastic Four, some alcohol after they complete this project, and Reed Richards feels the need to say, ethanol kills brain cells. First off, a regular person would just be like, oh, alcohol kills brain cells. I'm good, bruh. But that's not what he says. He says ethanol kills brain cells. Why? Because they want him to sound smart. The guy who wrote this was like, you know what sounds smart? Ethanol kills brain cells. All right, great. Everyone and their mother knows that ethanol kills brain cells. If you know what ethanol is, you can tell that it's bad for you. Right? So if you feel the need, instead of saying alcohol kills brain cells, if you have to say ethanol kills brain cells to show that Reed Richards, of all people, is smart, then go into how ethanol kills brain cells. That way, when we have that segue that shows him drinking out of the flask, it's funny, not ethanol kills brain cells. Because it just makes him look like a freaking jackass. Which, as I stated earlier, comes from that ham-fistedness, which the whole movie likes to just nail on you. They hit so hard that these people are smart, and who's smarter than the other one, and I guess they want the audience to argue about it, and they do it over and over and over, and there's a lot of attempts like that. For example, earlier in the movie, up until we get powers for the Fantastic Four, no one is hinted at for any powers at all except for Johnny Storm. And they do it a couple of times in a really dumb fashion. The first time we see Johnny Storm, he's in his car, and he's in a lineup to race, because that's a Johnny Storm move. Great! As soon as he lines up, first thing I notice in the rearview mirror swinging back and forth is a fire flower from Mario. A fire flower. First off, I doubt Fox had the foresight to get the rights to show that. I'm sure that wasn't supposed to be seen, but it was there. Fireflower. Right? So you're like, oh, Austin, that's not that big a deal. Whatever. It's a big deal because it's like, okay, this guy right here, he doesn't look like Sue, so you need to know this. He's the fire guy. So very first thing when he gets to the Baxter building and he's helping the Fantastic Four build the teleporter because his daddy makes him, very first thing he does, Reed's like, hey, can you weld? He asked the guy who's the son of the main dude of the building if he can weld. He asked the mechanic if he can weld, which, Reed Richards is smart though, so it's okay. But he asks him if he can weld. So, of course, everyone that's welding there has a nice black welding helmet like everybody else. But you know who has flames on their welding helmet? Yeah. It's the Human Torch. The Human Torch has flames on his welding helmet. I don't know. Maybe that's just me being nitpicky, whatever. But it really bothered me that we just felt the need to just smash it in your face. Hey, this guy is the fire guy, but nobody else has. It never shows Reed Richards stretching before he gets his little rubber thingy, or it never shows Sue randomly hiding and jumping out at people. But we needed to show the fire on the helmet. I don't know, but that's one small thing. There's also, all of the attempts at forcing the cast to have like this random chemistry, or the relationship that's usually portrayed for Johnny Storm and the Thing. There's one comment, and it just seems like the Human Torch is an asshole for saying it, and it's kind of there. And we also have this thing where Jamie Bell is Jamie Bell is shorter than I am. I looked it up. Dude's little. And he was the Thing. He's this big dude. So they feel the need to point that out. Like, oh yeah, let's point out our casting error. And they think that's funny. And that's hammy. It's terrible. It was a terrible movie, and I would not recommend it to anyone. Yeah, even for a good laugh. There really isn't anything funny either. It's just a terrible movie. It bastardizes things. The only thing that I found decent about the movie whatsoever is any time that anyone in the Storm family wasn't talking, I sometimes would forget that the movie was so shitty. The Storm family dialogue consisted of one-liners and little quips that they feel the need to shoot at either the Gnome King, the Stretchy Guy, or Telekinesmo. And quite frankly, it feels it just takes away from the movie, and it makes them look like a bunch of assholes. Because not only is through the whole thing Susan Storm a bitch, and Johnny Storm says almost nothing, even though he's supposed to be over charismatic. They only say those types of quips. Their father even does these, and it's just, I don't know, it's terrible. So the only good part of the movie is when no one in the family speaks, which is maybe total screen time of that happening. It might be 5 minutes of the hour 40-something run time. But anyway, to finish this off, I would not recommend this movie. I don't like it, and it is not a good movie. Blurbly durbity derp, herbly durbity derp, smiggly fliggly. Keep watching.
Hey, what's up? This is Nick Fleury here, reminding you to subscribe. And if you have any suggestions as to what we do next, or you want to tell us how we did, drop a comment down below. And if you want to see more, hit that like button.